Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show. Today's show is brought to you by whalewisdomretreats.com. How would you like to know the top 10 places in the world to swim with dolphins and whales in the wild for free? Now, of course, you can check out whalewisdomretreats.com. Anne Gordon runs retreats where she takes you to some of these places in the world to swim with the dolphins and the whales in the wild. And it's a guided event and retreat that has all kinds of different healing properties involved and plans and excursions that you can do with her. But even separate from that, she has compiled this list. So in case you're taking a vacation and you want to go swim with wild dolphins and whales on your own, you can download it and choose accordingly. So go to whalewisdomretreats.com and download your list today. Today's show is also sponsored by The Next Big Step. I was talking with a friend today about the idea of living our passion, living our dreams. And today's show, Are You Living an Evolved Life with Iain Grae, is what I love about this conversation is he is also very much about integration. It's about taking every part of who you are and manifesting from a spiritual perspective and not necessarily working in a logical way, but working in an inspired way. And really, there's no other place that I know doing it. Of course, I'm not necessarily in the world, so please forgive me if there are places that, other than things like Esalen up in Big Sur, and they do workshops all the time. But I'm trying to provide a different kind of service that I think is unique to me and to you, which is bringing other spiritual entrepreneurs, spiritual seekers like you and me together. And I was talking to this friend about the idea of inviting people and getting people inspired to take control of their life in different ways. And you know, I also am connected to all kinds of different business people and entrepreneurs and people who sell things. They teach you how to sell. And the idea of sales for most people is kind of icky. And what I love about what I'm doing here, and I don't feel like it's a sale. I'm inviting you to an event where I know, because I'm living it, I know that sometime in your life, you feel like you're alone in your family, with your friends, with people that you work with, because you want to be having these kinds of conversations and you're not. And so you're getting it from my show because you tell me. I get wonderful emails from you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that the show inspires so many of you. It definitely keeps me going and it warms my heart knowing that it's making a difference. So I don't want you to feel alone, and I don't want you to feel disconnected. I want you to invest in yourself and your happiness and come have an amazing experience with me, with us, in a place where other people like you will be. Because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're in life by yourself and that no one gets you and that you can't be who you really are. It's so awesome to be able to rest in knowing that everyone in the room, if nothing else, thinks a little bit like you because they're spiritual weirdos too. They love astrology, they love law of attraction, they love crystals, they love essential oils, they like to burn things, they like to purge, they like to do all that kind of stuff. And that's really why I've created these live events. And yes, there's one in January that you can plan for, Releasing What Weighs You Down, January 10th through the 13th of 2019. But can you really wait that long? I can't wait till the next event. It was so much fun in January to have everyone together and to have the experience and the community that was built and the friendships and the connections and just that knowing that there are other people out there who are like you. And it feels so much more serene and connected. And I know for myself, having you guys listen to the show and then tell me about it definitely helps me to serve a purpose the greater than my life, greater than who I am and what I do on a daily basis. It takes everything that I've experienced up until this point and makes it more meaningful. I've got so much to share with you in the next couple of weeks, and I don't regret a single moment of anything that's happened to me and things that I've chosen because it's brought me here. And being with people like you and people who listen to the show and people who are searching and wanting to talk about the same things I am is what is just so magical to me. So this is my plea to invite you, listeners of my show, to the live event. There is a limited room and there's a payment plan and you can share a room with somebody and there's a shuttle from the airport directly to the hotel. You don't have to rent a car because we never really leave, and it's going to be really fun, and I promise it will be a super experience. So anyway, just think about it. jjflazanes.com. Go to the events, or you can go jjflazanes.com/next big step. So let's talk about today's show. Are you living an evolved life? Iain Grae is a serial entrepreneur who lives life with a passion for creating inspirational experiences. He started his first small business in his teens and continues to build his portfolio. His first major success came in his mid-20s when he founded Innovation Ads, Inc., a New York-based advertising agency which grew from just himself to over 150 employees in just 3 short years, at which point he sold it. Iain currently owns San Antonio Raceway and Cycle Ranch MX Park, which allows him to build family-friendly events that enable people to pursue their childhood dreams. He uses a unique management style to empower his employees and customers alike to make the experience all that they want it to be. Iain sees life as a quest for continuous education and firmly believes in the law of attraction and the power of positive belief. He attributes his success to surrounding himself with great people and always being ready to learn something new. Welcome to the show, Iain.
I'm so excited to be here. I did a little bit of a podcast marathon and listening to some of your past podcasts before this, and you just got some amazing content, and some of it is really deep and some of it's really simple, but it's all got really great value. So I'm really excited to be on here and bringing some of what I've been able to accomplish in my life and the little practices that I do to help usher in heaven on earth to anybody listening. So if you guys are wanting more heaven on earth, stay tuned.
Definitely. We met at New Media Summit this past April, and Iain's energy, I definitely recommend you going to evolvedlife.com, and I will spell that for you. It's EVOLVE. So evolved, just regular evolved, but life it's LYFE instead of LIFE. So evolvedlife.com. Iain's energy is very magnetic. You're like a spiritual rock star. I think that's what I called you when I saw you at the pool when we were recording for the Nice Guys on Business podcast around the pool, and with the glasses and the sort of the Steven Tyler like hair, even though it's not that long, right? You have that kind of spiritual rock star going on for you. So what I really remember, it stuck out for me for your pitch. You were talking about money and what you had gone through in your life and how you had gotten to where you are right now on a financial level. And while that intrigued me, I kept thinking my audience is not necessarily all about, yes, there's money involved in some of it, but it's really more health and wellness and definitely more spiritual. And of course, at the end, he says, and woo as fuck. And I said, okay, that's it. Yep, you can be on the show. So because now you're tying in the physical to the spiritual. And that is where I lie. That is where I'm trying to integrate everyone into having both of those components. And for me, it's a mind, body, soul, all 3 of those components integrated into what you do on a daily basis to actually live the things you learn and live the things you know versus just tell people about them. It's actually living them. So if you would I would love for you to share your story, because again, like I said, I sort of blacked out in the beginning once I decided that, okay, it was about money and it's a great story. And maybe if I do a business podcast, but then when you wrote me at the end, I kind of forgot the beginning. So talking about your background and how you got to where you are.
Oh, I love it. Everything you're just saying, like giving chills up my spine, because I actually manifest my physical abundance through more spiritual practices rather than doing that hustle and struggle. Not that I haven't done the hustle and struggle before, but it was a stage for me. So just to quickly rewind, like where my entrepreneurial journey began was growing up. I was consistently told we didn't have money for that. Anything I asked for, mom and dad said, we don't have money for that. So I had like this real poverty mentality. I thought we were like the poorest people on the planet. And when I was 8 years old, I was asking my father for a motocross bike. And he, instead of saying we don't have money for that, he actually said to me, you know what, you can have a motorcycle when you can buy it. And a light bulb went on in my head, like, wait, I can actually do this. So it got my mind thinking, like, what can I do at 8 years old to make some money? So I started like mowing lawns, picking up dog poop, raking leaves, shoveling snow. I was in the Northeast, so there's plenty of that. And 3 years later, I came home with this motorcycle. And my father's like, what did I just start right now? What just happened? So my entrepreneurial journey, my ability to take responsibility for my own personal outcomes, kind of got seated there, along with some books that were given to me, mostly by my father, Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh, really getting my mind in a straight place and kind of learning this innate ability to manifest without realizing what I was doing. And I took some of those practices and some other things along with me into racing motocross, worked my way through the ranks, got a pro license with that, hung my jersey up, graduated high school early, graduated college early, went into sales. And I was just like winning at every single thing that I did. I was used to like getting out front in the start in the motocross races and finishing at the checkers, like way in front of everybody. And then I was taking those same strategies into my life, whether it was in school or sales. And it wasn't because I was smart, like in terms of like, there was a lot of people that were a lot smarter than me, but I could like had this ability of pulling information out of thin air, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. So at 21 years old, I'm doing sales and I'm making like $14,000 a month living in my parents' basement. And it was a pretty cool ride. And had all this excess money, but I hadn't traveled the world or seen a lot of things. And I decided that I was going to leave a sales job and go travel through Europe, and just as an adventure with a backpack by myself. And I ended up finding myself in Spain and ended up meeting a Swedish girl, ended up getting a visa to go live in Sweden. So ended up actually selling in Swedish, doing phone sales in Swedish within the first 6 months I was there. And it was a really exciting time, but at the same time, my money started running out. And this was like my first time really starting to feel like a little bit like a failure. And it started turning me into a nasty person because I was unconsciously competent in these ways of manifesting before this. And now I've stopped practicing them in my relationship, in my new job, and I was feeling horrible about myself, and therefore everybody around me was going to be miserable. I was even actually on supplemental housing income. And when the money finally ran out, I had to go back. I realized the only thing I could do right now is leave. I was not being a good boyfriend, good partner, and it was showing up in the relationship in ways. And in the time, I was blaming her, of course. It was all her fault. But I ended up back in my parents' basement, like broke and heartbroken, a completely different place than I was before. And with that, I was able to like really get into that deep depression and feel how horrible I felt, and realize that my self-worth was so connected to some of these other things that were outside of me. And being that I was always an achiever, I went right back into achievement mode. So I got another sales job, did really well with that, paid off any debts that I had because I borrowed money to even get back and forth to work and even pay for food. And the moment I did, I started my own advertising business. And within just over 3 years, I was able to hit every single one of my goals, actually sold the business for near 10 times what I had written down as my goal, my 5-year goal 3 years earlier. So here I was in this great place and sold a business, not even 30 years old, set to retire, went into celebration mode. And then I went into another big dip, and I hadn't learned all the lessons that I previously could have when I had the dip. And now they just showed up in a magnified way because I had no purpose. And I stopped practicing all of my spiritual elements because I had no purpose in life. So I was just like celebrating, and I started becoming pretty miserable.
Okay. And now what happened next? So we have that we're hanging on, Iain. What happened after you got, you sold your company, you had money, but now you're depressed again because now you have no purpose. How did you find your purpose?
Yeah. So I thought I'd just take a pause in case there was anything you wanted to stop on, because it's a long time of journey. So I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to jump in on there.
Well, the only thing now that you're pausing me, I'll go back a second because I did want to know first I want to know what's your sign, what's your birthday?
I'm an Aquarius.
You're an Aquarius. Do you know anything else about your chart?
I am in the week of genius and the day of the aloof icon. As far as anything else in my chart, human
like
design.
Your moon sign? No, like your moon sign. No, astrological, your moon sign.
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, you're an Aquarius. Okay, that's good to know. And how old were you when you sold your company?
I was 29 years old.
Okay, no, I'm good. I'm just, I'm listening, I'm visualizing, I'm seeing in your parents' basement, I'm seeing you off in Sweden and then back in your parents' basement. And I know we're getting to that crux of the main lesson here that took you from not learning it the first time to now what you're about to share with us. So go ahead.
Well, the funny thing is I had a moment when I was first starting out in the business, and nobody would help me. Nobody would help me. I was like, every time, I shouldn't say nobody. Like the banks wouldn't help me. I didn't have anybody in my network. I went to my current network was more blue collar, so they helped the best they could, but they really didn't know what I was dealing with and how this was all happening. And I went to an entrepreneur organization event, and they actually wouldn't let me in. And I didn't have enough of the documentation to prove that I was a real entrepreneur by their standards. And I got ushered out, and I was like, "What is going on here? Like, this is ridiculous. These are supposed to be my people." And it was a cold, windy, rainy New York day in November. And I remember putting my hands on my face, and I'm like, "My God, what is this?" And I looked up, and it just struck me that, wow, I just immediately took an oath, and I didn't even realize that it was like divinity talking to me. I didn't realize I was channeling something. And it was like, when I figure this out, I am going to help other people along this way and make it available to everyone possible. What is the formula to create magic and wealth in one's life? So I had even forgotten that. After I sold the business, I went to Miami, partying for a little bit. That was a lot of fun. And then I realized I didn't have the purpose. So I got back into motocross because I had forgotten about this oath. And I started traveling around the country, racing motorcycles again. Actually stopping at national monuments. I got this rock star tour bus and started a social media company around motocross, grew it to 60,000 users, sold that, bought a motocross track, ended up buying a drag strip. And I didn't realize that I was doing all of that in a way for me to learn how to build community and how to interact with thousands of people at one time. And it was a really neat experience. And as I got more proficient in doing that, I remembered this oath that I took, and I created out this course, Millionaire Prowess, that helps people to actually learn the 10 principles that I used, that I follow any business. And when I use those in those businesses, success automatically happens. So there's some practical stuff in there. There's some woo-woo stuff in there. There's some more mathematical type stuff in there, but it's really a formula that I was able to reverse engineer what brought me success in business. And I apply this to other areas in my life and also get this success as well as a result of that formula. But what became deeper was, as I started to discover this purpose, I started to remember things like meditation. And I didn't necessarily meditate when I was younger, because when I was racing motorcycles, I got into that flow state. And I got into a meditative state, like where the whole world just slowed down. So it became my meditation. So meditation can happen when I'm at the gym. Meditation can happen on a job. Meditation can happen when I'm engulfed in an activity, whether it's practicing the guitar or drawing, or even now I've gotten to the point where like most of what I'm going to be saying is going to be channeled. It just goes like straight through, like the brain doesn't turn on with any words, unless it says, "Hey, pause for a second." So what's happened is, with Evolved Life, is I've deconstructed all the practices that I use in my life that actually bring me to this centered place of alignment. And I really got revealed this by doing the practices, seeing what worked, doing plant medicines, and having very clear rituals around how my day is going to unfold through meditation, breath work, and the like. So that's really where I'm at now. Is I'm literally experiencing heaven on earth, and I feel like I'm playing a game of chess with all my outcomes and being able to see farther out than ever before, allowing me to really trust in divine order and just be in flow state on the daily, on moment by moment. And there's times where I get knocked off. So don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect at this yet, up until now. Maybe now moving forward will be different. So I'll just put that intention out there right now, that for now on, I'm never going to fall asleep again. I'm going to stay wide awake and conscious and be in this divine flow. So as long as I practice these practices, it allows me to stay in that flow. And those people in the past that would have came in and disrupted it, they don't phase me anymore. The situations or outcomes, they don't phase me anymore when it doesn't happen exactly as I intended to happen, because I know that there's a higher order of things, and I'm connected to that, and I'm just a player on life.
So a few things that I love about what you said, and I'm going to use my law of attraction speak to also deconstruct and reaffirm in different ways for the people that are listening to the show who have followed me in that sort of language. You know, when you talked about meditation happening when you were racing, it's, to me, it's more like you're in alignment at that point. Like you're in total spiritual alignment with who you really are. It can be considered meditation. It can be considered a neutral state. To me, meditation is about coming into neutral and
Mm.
releasing resistance. But see, when you're racing, I think you're not in neutral, you're in high. Like you're in freedom, you're in love, you're in peace, you're in connection, and it's not neutral. It's just connected. And I know but we also, people can get high during meditation in terms of your, you know, your energy and feeling that burst of positive energy because you've released resistance. But I, like you, find my deepest, most connected place when I'm in action, like rollerblading. I've got the beach next to me here, and when I'm rollerblading with music in my ears, it's almost like my left brain is busy listening to the music and my body is busy rollerblading. So now I have this clear channel for my right brain to tap in and get any messages that I may need to hear or any downloads that are available to me. And it's funny because there's so much going on, but there's this clear open channel where I can hear very clearly. So I agree that meditation doesn't have to happen being quiet or sitting down, depending on how you use meditation and what you're looking for. So I think that's really cool. And in terms of, you know, you're an Aquarius, which makes sense to me as an air sign, that the more you feel flow, the more you feel sort of movement and air and freedom and flexibility in that way, you stay in alignment with who you are. And the fact that even Aquarians are known to be sort of social justice providers and helpers and humanitarians and wanting to kind of get behind the underdog and to help people in that way. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's not. But I think that all fits so perfectly within your, I mean, again, all I've done is I know your sun sign, but and your story, but there's so much more in that I'd love to dive into. But now taking that, because again, you have a broader perspective, being where you are, you do recognize that you aren't the norm. Yes?
Well, I mean, in some, I think everybody has the capacity, and everybody's born with gifts, and some people are withholding their gifts or just giving their gifts away. So it's just a matter of how I choose to show up and who I choose to be. And so it's a kind of an interesting conundrum because I see the greatness in everybody that's around me, and they may not see it. And that's really maybe the only difference is when somebody's got the programs running, the limiting beliefs, or they have conflicting beliefs, conflicting intentions. So that obviously will mess with the law of attraction. I heard you mention that earlier, and that's one of the things that I had to get to the opportunity of unraveling and peeling back layers of onion, which later became like a flower blooming, like petals instead. Once I got past the outside, the more of those limiting ones that were holding me back from everything I was doing. So maybe I'm the exception of the norm, but I think I see angels like everywhere. They just have different gifts than I do, maybe, or they're expressing themselves in different ways.
I'm not trying to say that you're the norm, meaning, or outside the norm, meaning what you've done or what you do is something people can't also do. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, in terms of your uniqueness, like we all are unique. And I agree with you 100% that everyone has their unique gifts that may be bogged down with limiting beliefs that stop them from hitting their potential of what they're here to do. Absolutely 100% on board with that. The only reason why, because what I'm about to ask you, there's the
Mm.
perspective of, for a long time, one of my lessons has been to learn that everyone isn't like me. I used to take the position of, if I saw someone that I wanted something they had, or I wanted to repeat their success, I would say, if they can do it, I can do it. And that was true. That is true. If you can do it, I can do it, because that's who I am. But that isn't who everybody is. And for a long time, it made it really hard for some people, whether it be friends of mine or people that I worked with or people in relationship with, if I kind of held them to it's not about a standard, it's about a way that we function in the world. And that's why I asked you for your sign, being an Aquarius. There are
Mm.
ways of being that you have that are not, that other Aquarians have. I have some of the things that you have, but there are others who don't operate like that. So I'm setting you up for this question I'm about to ask you. I'm just trying to
Yes.
make the distinction that while I'm with you on that everyone has a potential that they probably aren't reaching because of limited beliefs, habits and patterns that come into their life that can be unlearned, things that are unconscious, things they need to be waken up to on the board with that, what I want to know from you is, what do you think, taking that in consideration in terms of that, you have a certain speed in the way that you life, and there are certain people who are opposite of you. Like, who would be opposite of you is someone who's very left brain, like let's say a Virgo, who is really concerned about their space and they won't take chances, and they're not risk oriented. They're very calculated and a little bit more controlled because they feel safer there, not because they have a limiting belief that they can't do it.
Yes.
It's just the way they do it is different than the way you do it. So with that said, what do you think a general overarching, like a couple different things that get in people's way is? The people that you've worked with over the years with Evolved Lyfe, and just maybe one-on-one, or any of the things that you've done with people to help them get over their whatever stopping them, their barriers, so to speak. What are some of the things, it could be 3 or 5 or 2 or 1, whatever, that come to mind of the things that really stop the majority of people in their life to achieving what they want?
Absolutely. Excellent. Amazing question. I love the color around it too. And my wife is a Taurus. So she is very fixed, and we get to have battles sometimes. She's very risk adverse, so she's really sensitive, and I'm like, I'm just going to dive in. So I get to have that reflection all the time shown to me, and it's a beautiful thing because I get to see how she works and creates amazingness through her own way. So I think that really the biggest thing that's going on right now that seems to show up is that so many people let what other people may think about them stop them from being an action to who they really are and they know to be true in their heart. Like, number one is this people pleasing mentality. And what ends up happening is everybody attempts to sugarcoat everything and stops being direct. And what ultimately ends up happening is there's a lot of illusions that are created and a lot of meanings given to what's said versus actually taking what's said, because people are dancing around the truth. And it creates this unintended level of dishonesty is really what it is. And when that happens, then false agreements are made, and nobody's really happy with the outcomes when those agreements are kept, because they didn't ask for what specifically it is that they wanted or intended to create. They didn't make their intentions clear in some way, shape, or form. And that's probably the biggest thing that I see. Like when I go out into like the public, people really kind of seem to dance around what their truth is, and they may not even know what their truth is. But the way that things have seemed to unfold is that things have gotten really touchy and really politically correct. And there's a lot of victims, people waking up out of being comatose in their level of consciousness where they didn't know what was going on. And I was in that place for a long time. Like, I didn't know what was going on around me. It just was happening. Life was happening to me. There was rules I may have been able to keep to them. I may have broken them because I didn't even understand them. But then when I started waking up, I got into this victim place where I was like pointing the finger at everybody else. And I think there's been a mass awakening from that comatose to victim stage, and people are still pointing the finger at everybody else and not taking 100% responsibility for their own manifestation, their own world. So that might be the second one. So the first one would be the people pleasing. And then the second one would be the failure to take 100% responsibility for every single thing that comes into my awareness. So there's a meme out there that right now that I've seen so popular, that life is 10% about what happens to you and 90% about how you react to it. So first, I would invite anybody to stop reacting, because that's just a impulsive, and start responding. And I dare them or invite them to take 100% responsibility for every single thing that comes into their awareness, as now I'm the master creator God here. I'm manifesting this reality that's this hologram, and whatever is coming to me is a result of my manifestation. And the moment that I do that, then I can, people say, take my power back. However, I don't think power can be given away. It can only be withheld. So then I can actually step into my power and actually exercise what my truth is and my gift. So then it leads into authenticity. So they're kind of weaved together, those three.
It's interesting about the people pleasing. It's definitely something I talk about as being an addiction, but I think from my own personal experience, even recently, I've realized like the layers and the levels of that. There are I would not have ever claimed to be a people pleaser in the last, let's say, 5 or 10 years. But what I unconsciously didn't understand, to the degree I know now, once my situation has changed, how there are certain people in my life that I would allow, and it wasn't them asking, it was them vibrationally asking or saying, I'm not comfortable with what you're doing, I don't understand what you're doing, I'm not on board with what you're doing, and therefore I would only make decisions or take action or leap in accordance to how much I thought they could handle. And I didn't get that, because if you would have asked me, do you think that you are being held back by certain people in your life? I would have said, no, nobody has the power to hold me back but me. But what I didn't realize is that I was consciously checking in with the people who are around me and only growing at a level that I think they could handle. And so even recently, and I would not have claimed this at all without having this experience, I've thought, oh my God, I didn't believe I did that. But, but there are risks involved. So in terms of that growth, and I mean, it happens to all of us. Where are you? That's a little bit about what's going on with me in terms of the expansion. I'm taking a huge leap right now, and I'm going to be in the next 6 to 12 months, because this ceiling has been opened that has never been open for me before, that I didn't even realize, because I never saw myself as someone who acted on what other people thought to this degree. It's really a little bit worse than I thought it was. So for you, are there any lessons that are coming up for you in your next evolution, your next stage, for whether it be in business or with just within life in general?
Yes, yes. And I love what you were just saying there. This is something that continuously has come up for me. And it seems to finally be getting to a place where like I'm not seeing it happening to me much. But definitely the people that were closest to me, I didn't want to upset them. So I would just kind of push down what my feelings were around certain topics. And I was with them, I just wouldn't even like approach that there would be this disharmony between us, and attempting to just lead with my heart to change that. Yet the conversations weren't necessarily happening. I was like, I don't want to rock the boat. Like, things are going good. They're going good. They could be better. They could be great, but I don't want to rock the boat. So that definitely is something that continuously I have more and more awareness around. Um, Fortunately, right now, I'm at the place where I've spoken my truth, and I've spoken my truth as it's my truth, it's my story, it's my experience. So it doesn't have to be their truth. So it can be detached, that maybe their truth is different than mine. So I can live in harmony with them, in the acceptance that they are who they are, and now just believe that they accept I am who I am. Sometimes there's some reminders, but what I actually found to be really helpful in this is actually, strangely enough, is by a couple different things. One, holding in my heart intention that my truth is my truth, and just holding that space, being that space actually, this is who I am and this is who I'm showing up as. I'm a loyal, committed, honest, integral, trustworthy, compassionate, courageous individual. I have core values that I go by, and I share them with the people that are close to me. And I invite them to join me with those core values. I even have definitions of what those core values are. And so far, everybody that I've showed them to is like, I like this. This is like actually improved my quality of my life. And I'll give you a link so you can put in the show notes if people want to see them. But that's really allowed me to create a lot of ease around these conversations. Another thing that I've been practicing very intentionally is actually starting those conversations that may be a little bit in conflict because I had failed to speak my truth previously, starting the conversation off with a very clear intention. Like, I'd like to set an intention that we have a conversation to repair this relationship or expand this relationship and bring it into better harmony, and invite them to expand on that intention. And once I do that, it moves us from the opposite side of the table to the same side of the table. And I teach a lot of the methodologies in this, and Evolve Life, and all the introspection that goes along with it. But just the idea of holding it in my heart intention of who I be, and then having an intention that is spoken, those things seem to really upgrade individuals when they come into my space. and allow me to have some of those more difficult conversations and makes them actually kind of easy. It makes it relieving for me and them. It seems like at the end, every single time we walk away really feeling great about it.
Well, those sound very helpful. And actually, if you want to tell us the website, because I don't do a lot of show notes. I mean,
Ah,
like others do, I used to post all of the different, but since I have like 6 different podcasts, people just get the information from what we talk about on the show. And then in your bio that I put on the show notes in when, whatever people click on, but there's not like a website we're going to direct them to. So go ahead.
yeah. So it's evolvedlife.com. Life has a Y in it /core dash values. And you see the first, I think 6 are on there. The first 6. I have some other ones that I share when I get into like a deep business relationship, but the first 6 are like deal breakers. Like, you're not even going to be my friend if you're going to lie to me. We're not hanging out. You're not going to be my acquaintance. We're not even having a drink together. You lie to me about the smallest thing, then it's game over. Unless you're unconsciously lying about it, then I may be patient and dig deeper for the truth. And that's a good experience for me to do. I look at it as somebody lies to me. Now I have a sparring partner. And how do I actually create the environment that they're going to feel comfortable telling me the truth, rather than the old way was calling them out and just like bringing it right to awareness. It was like a disrupting way, which is very effective, but it's kind of explosive sometimes. And it's not always my favorite way to do it. My favorite way to do it probably is now by making sure that they feel safe telling me the truth, that they think I can handle the truth, that I'm actually ready and showing up. And that in itself creates a healing for me, because when I create that safe space for somebody else to speak their truth, then me speaking my truth becomes invited by that individual. So it's like I'm in the walls of the Matrix rather than being out into the whole physical realm. It's like I can actually just see how I'm changing the way somebody is operating, at least while they're around me. They might go back to the other way that they were when I'm not there, but at least when they're with me, they're showing up as angels.
I love that. And when you said about the being dishonest, I thought about a friend who was dishonest, but I know she's not conscious that she was actually dishonest, and she wouldn't even probably admit to that. Because I thought, I can handle this, just be honest. But I don't know that some people even have that awareness. So, that's another conversation we can have. But I want to make sure people get this link. It's evolvedlife.com, life with a Y, core dash values.
/core dash values.
Cool. Okay. But let's talk about Evolve Life. So you've taken these principles, you said there were 10 of them, right? That you use to create your wealth, to create your freedom, to create your opportunities and your manifestations. And now you've put it together for people to experience and come into community with Evolved Life, correct?
Yeah. Well, there's Millionaire Prowess, which is the course that's the 10 principles around wealth. And then Evolve Life is my legacy. Evolve Life for me is the principles that I'm going to be teaching my children, the principles that I share with my family members, the way of being, so that joy is constantly coming my way, even when the roller coaster on life. Like I have this belief that or I should say remembrance, that before I incarnated into this meat body, I signed a soul contract. Like I was assigning to be on like a roller coaster ride, and that I would have this certain journey, and there would be times that were dramatic and times that were hero's journey and times where I got to be a victim and times where it got to be a psychological suspense thriller, times where like all kinds of different things would happen on this experience. So now I get to I chose to limit myself from all the isness or isn'tness so that I could come into this limited shape, this limited form, and experience the separation from all that is. So I really intend to experience every piece of the ride, and I intend to do it with open arms and be like really enjoying even those gifts or those emotions that some people think are negative emotions. Like I experience them as gifts, and I use them as marking points to allow me to see who I am being, showing up as, and how I can actually see what I might be limiting myself in creating a manifestation in some way.
Well, that's basically law of attraction, is how you handle contrast, right? So how you handle contrast is looking at it as clarifying versus a problem. That's just showing you what's going on so that you can redirect, or you can clarify that you don't want that and you want more of that, or to challenge you into the next level of who you're supposed to be. So I think that you're speaking my language in terms of
Yes.
utilizing contrasts or problems, or in looking at them as opportunities of growth or reflection, life mirroring you back and saying, don't want to be there. What can I do about that? And I think that resilience that people can build and take a position on is really what makes the difference between someone who can be successful in any area, in every area of life, versus someone that gets too bogged down in that judgment about something happening and it being a reflection of who they really are, when it's not. It's just part of your journey.
Yeah, and I think every single moment is a chance for me to learn more about myself. And the more that I learn about myself and know who I am, who I be, then I can clean up any of the impurities. There's a Egyptian belief that when one body dies, they actually can reincarnate and hold their level of consciousness. I believe this is how it works. So long as their heart is as light as a feather. And that means that I'm not going to be holding on to any of the experiences and living in the past. And instead just taking that experience as it is, what it is, without the judgment, and be in the present moment.
All right. So now you're teaching people how to do this. Let's tell everybody about Evolve Life and the special that we have to offer them, which I believe is you can experience Iain's program for 28 days for $1.
Yes.
And that's evolvelife.com/JJ. But let's tell us about that program.
Yeah. So what I did with this, and actually my wife's going to be loading in some courses as well. We have we're twin flames, so we really complement each other. We make some explosions sometimes, but it's a beautiful creation we get to do sometimes. So I've actually reverse engineered all the practices that actually help me to become in alignment with source. So JJ, every experience is a little bit different. JJ, I think you described it as like, okay, I'm going to leave my right side of my brain open, and I'm going to receive my downloads that way. The way that I experience actually is that the brain kind of almost tunes in and gets in alignment because the heart is resonating so heavily with a deeper message. So I feel it come through my heart and expand into my gut and into my brain, and I get a match there. And then when that happens, like usually I'll have chills up my arms, and then I just kind of get into the divine flow. So all the worries that I had about the future, the anxiety that I had about the future, like every time I'm worrying or anxious, then I'm living in the future. I'm actually living in the future. I'm not being present. Those things dissipate and fade away. And the same thing happens with my regret or shame from the past, where I'd be living in the past. So by practicing these rituals, these practices, it helps me to get really, really heart-centered in everything that I do, so that I'm always leading without the control of the ego, and the ego just becomes a servant. And what ends up happening is really unique, divine opportunities seem to show up in my life, like just unbelievable items. Like I put this intention to usher in heaven on earth. Like that's my purpose. That's my role. That's the whole idea with Evolve Life, is how does one usher heaven on earth, and what are the practices are that allowed me to do that. I live on top of a wellness resort with 4 pools, 6 jacuzzis, organic food delivered to me, a functional medical doctor on staff. I live on the beach in a penthouse on top of a hotel, basically. And then I also have a ranch in Texas that I can go to if I want to just get really grounded into nature and be out of the city, because that's in Miami. I get to travel around the world, and it just like seems like everywhere I turn, opportunities show up for me to allow me to expand who I be, my bank account, my capacity to love my wife, to connect with other people and relationships. And it becomes this really beautiful, fun flow in life. And I definitely experienced hell on earth. I did that for a while, and Evolve Life was all the practices that I did to allow me to come out of hell on earth and live in heaven on earth.
Okay, so let's say someone wants to do 28 days. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What are they signing up for?
Yeah. So how it works is All the videos are completely available, so somebody can go to like which one really resonates with them. So if they want to get into belief hacking, they could take that one. If they want to get into relationships, they could go through that route. And some of the practices seem to work better in different areas, although they do all complement each other. If they want to get into business, there's courses on business, into just dynamics between partner relationships versus business relationships versus friendships, and anybody could go through. And what it is they'll be watching a video, and then after they watch the video where I explain my practice, then there's questions that cause one to actually introspect, because what's working for me, the strategy, the theory behind it will work for another. However, what's true for me may be different than what's true for another. So this allows one to introspect and really know themselves better, and really get crystal clear on who they are and what's important to them, what their gifts are, what their purpose is. And by revealing that, pulling back the curtain through introspection, then it allows one to show up as that individual, and then start to see the opportunities where the challenges were before, and create the world that they're looking to create versus feeling like the world is happening to them.
And someone can start at any point in time. So it's not a start date that everybody has to follow along with, or they can just come in at any time.
They can come in at any time, and we have a Facebook group so they can get some support, and all the information on that is inside the course itself. So this way they'll get group support. Then there's different levels where if they want to actually do one-on-one coaching with me or one of my Evolve Life coaches, they could actually purchase that additionally if they really want to like fast track it. And then there's three basic levels. So the first one is the practices. The most expensive ones with coaching is all of them get access to the group program. And then the middle one has some more in-depth questions for introspection and really bringing people to turning their lights on, for lack of a better term, like really shine their light brightly right out of them.
I love it. Okay, everyone go to evolvedlife.com, life spelled with a Y, evolvedlife.com/JJ to get your 28-day trial for $1. And definitely you want to take what Iain's offering, because this man has already accomplished so much and been able to manifest at such a high level that even just being around him and his community, I promise you will have some kind of transformative effect in your life. Because even just meeting him and his wife in person this past April definitely was an awesome experience. I mean, you're on the show because of it. It really didn't have anything to do with your pitch except the woo as fuck at the end, which I did appreciate, but I could feel you as you were talking. And I think that what you were talking about, like I said, when it was just focused on money, I wasn't like, I'm with you, but I'm not there yet. Okay, tie it in for me. Make this about all of integration of life and manifestation, and I'm there. And so you're here, and I was there, and I want everyone else to be there too. So please go check out evolvedlife.com/JJ and get your 28-day trial for $1, because that's like nothing. Huh? You pay that on tax for something at the grocery store. So so take the trial. It can't hurt. It's $1. Okay, everyone has $1. And you might come away with a lot. Obviously, you're going to come away with way more than that at the end of it. So that's going to be pretty awesome. So Iain, I know I'm going to have you back. I'm going to have your wife on the show. I know I'm going to run into you again. This isn't the last of our conversations. And I just want to say thank you for your time today and inspiring others and inviting them into what you've been able to accomplish and all the gifts that you have to share.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me on. And everybody, thank you for tuning into this. I'm really, really excited for you on your journey. And I hope I planted some seeds so that you're already starting to experience a little more of heaven on earth. It is all around you. I promise. It's just a matter of revealing it and getting in that centered space. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you so much, JJ, for having me on. It was an honor. And I look forward to our future conversations.
evolvedlife.com/JJ. Go check it out right now.